Yo, today I'm going to be showcasing how to play Destruction Warlock in Mythic Plus keys. Um, this is very useful since Destruction has become more and more popular and probably is the best spec for Warlock currently for higher keys. This could very well change soon. I would still say play what you want. Demonology and Destruction are still very good, both of them in Mythic Plus keys. Affliction is falling a little bit behind, but that's also fine. But yeah, this video is going to be focused around Destruction Warlock. This is my gear. I have the Amice of the Blue crafted shoulders, and I have the Trinket Rage Feather and the Trinket Shadow Gem. This is what I use for keys currently, and what is important to note is that the Shadow Gem can be replaced by the icon, so can the Rage Feather. This is all sim stuff. I would recommend simming your character if you have the icon and see what is best. It also depends how many people in your group use the icon, so yeah, just sim the character. Real quick, also I am 1835 rated, so I'll be my guide will be mainly focused around how you can push destruction up to higher keys, the standards of higher keys, and how you can do a lot of AOE on packs that live a little bit longer as they do in higher keys. But this can also be applied to the low keys. The only thing is with destruction is that it's AOE is sustained AOE, so you won't do a lot of AOE on low keys because the packs simply don't live long enough. Let's go over talents. So this is the main talent build for Mythic Plus Destruction. The point of this being that Power Overwhelming will make it so that your Rain of Fire will do a lot more damage because in high AoE settings, this talent will help you generate a lot of soul shards and you can spam Rain of Fire a crazy amount, which would make Power Overwhelming very, very useful. The other thing you can do is you can put a point in Burn to the Ashes instead of Power Overwhelming. This will give you more single target and is often preferred for dungeons like Halls of Valor, maybe Jade Serpent. But yeah, this is personal preference. Think about what key you're doing. Court of Stars, as an example, is notorious for a lot of single target or cleave. Then you would consider using Burn to Ashes instead of Power Overwhelming. This is just the normal build for Mythic Plus, but I also want to showcase a few builds that are a little bit abnormal for Mythic Plus. If your group decides that they want a lot more single target and you're the one that's gonna bring it, you can go this build instead. This build is heavily focused on single target and you will not be able to AoE. The only thing you will be able to do is cleave with your Havoc. But this will do a lot of single target damage. You can even do this where you put one less in Master Ritualist and one more in Burn to Ashes to further your single target even more. I would recommend this for some groups if you've talked with your friends about it in your keys and you want more single target, maybe in a tyrannical and you're having trouble with a boss or something, and you don't really need the AoE if you're with two other mega AoE classes. This could be considered, but generally I would just recommend you use this standard normal talent build for destruction. This is just how it is right now. There's not too much to say about the Warlock talent tree, like the class tree itself. I would recommend you just copy this and use this. There's a few options for Jade Serpent. You can use Banish to banish one of the mobs if you're having trouble with the last pack before the last boss on heavily fortified weeks. Maybe you can banish one of the mobs and get rid of him. There's also some people that take Amplified Curse to maybe slow down a mob or other tricks you can do with this. But there's not much to be said about this talent tree currently. You always take I as of 10.05. This could change with the next patch 10.07. I will comment in the comment section if this has changed, because there might be a chance you will be taking Soulkeeper in keys when 10.07 hits. But as of 10.05, you take Inquisitor's Gaze all the time. and I would just recommend copying all the other nodes here. Let's quickly go over the Weakauras. The Weakauras I use for Destruction Warlock is very basic. I use a Weakaura tracking my madness of Ashela. I cannot say that, which is this talent right here. This is probably the most important thing to track. Everything else, and you should be fine. But yeah, you need to track this with Weakauras, and I'll be linking this one in the description. Super easy to tell. When I start combat, I'll just cast a Chaos Bolt. You'll see this and this. This is tracking how much time I have left to cast another Chaos Bolt to get the damage bonus. So this Weakaura is very important. And if we go out of combat here, I have a few others. I have the Noah Warlock Weakaura. This costs money. I think you need to be subscribed to Noah to get this pack. You can't get it any other way, but I will be linking some free ones in the description. This is just a free one of the basic UI thing where you get the bars and the tracking of the cooldowns and so on. I'll be linking that in the description. And yeah, there's really not much else to the Weakauras for Destro. The spec doesn't really need a lot of Weakauras to function compared to Demonology as an example. So yeah, I would just recommend those two, and don't clutter too much up with personal Weakauras. Use the space for something else. This is gonna be a quick opener, how you open as Destruction Warlock, what your single target will look like when you have all your CDs and you open up on a boss. Okay, so this is how the AOE rotation will work for Destro Warlock. It is not too complicated. The main thing you want to do is that if you can, you want to have Immolate on as many targets as possible. So I'm going to start immolating the targets, and I want to press Inferno, Rain of Fire, then Havoc, then Rain of Fire, and just spam Rain of Fire, Conflagrate, Rain of Fire, Incinerate, whatever you want to press. You want to start reapplying your Immolates again. If you can do it, you want to start reapplying them when they drop off. As you see, I'm letting some of them drop off a little bit, but as long as you are aware of it and try to Immolate when you can, that it's good. I would say priority-wise, it's probably Immolate second in priority and Conflagrate first in priority. Now I have Havoc up again. I will Havoc a target. And I'll just start Rain of Firing again. Immolating here. Conflagrating. Immolating this target. And you see how this goes? It's just this over and over again. And reapplying Immolate. Yeah, so there's not much more to this rotation than this on AoE pulls. The most important thing to get out of this AoE rotation is to keep Immolate up on as many targets as you can. But at the same time, don't let your Conflagrate go up to 2 stacks. You want to continuously use Conflagrate. Your Havoc also needs to be sent on cooldown. And yeah, you just want to keep Madness off with Rain of Fire. Don't go to 5 shards. And you should be good. Just keep spamming Rain of Fire as much as you can on these AoE packs. That's the overall goal of it. And keeping Immolate up. Yep, that's pretty much all that there is to it. So I want to talk a little bit about destro in keys, just general. What you want to be prioritizing. When do I use Rain of Fire? When do I use Chaos Bolt? The short answer is that Chaos Bolts should be used when there's 1 to 2 targets, and 3 or more targets you use Rain of Fire. And the other thing is, when do I stop emulating the targets? I would say that you could stop emulating the targets if they're below like 20% or 30% even. And lower keys, you should probably stop emulating them when they're below 40%. But it all just depends on how much HP they have. But you generally want to get as much value from your emulate or your cast as possible. So if you feel like it's not worth casting emulate on a target, you should probably not do it if they're too low. The most important thing in keys is just keeping up the madness buff. If you can't keep up the madness buff with Rain of Fire, you're gonna do significantly less damage. That is the most important thing. And other things to note in keys is that you will wanna be using your Infernal pretty much on cooldown. It doesn't matter too much that you have it on bosses. What matters the most is you have Infernal with the Lust. That matters so much. So if you can time it with the Lust, you should be fine. But you want to send your Infernal on big AoE packs and pretty much just on cooldown. And the other thing is Havoc. Havoc on AoE packs will generally be more valuable using it to generate more shards when you're Rain of Firing than waiting till there's like 2 targets left and beginning to Havoc the one of the targets and Chaos Bolting the other. It is more preferred to just Havoc on pull and start generating more shards because you have that target Havoced with Conflagrate, Incinerate and Immolate. And yeah, that's pretty much what I want to go over. That is like the priority list you should think about. For mass AoE purposes, like the boss you're seeing right now, the tree boss from Academy, you want to immolate the main target and you want to Havoc either the main target or a secondary target to generate as many shards as you humanly can, and you just want to send Rain of Fires. You see, I never immolate any of the Lashes because it's just not worth it. They will die too fast. And I just want to send as many Rain of Fires as I can because they will generate so many shards for me because there's so many of them in this clump. And yeah, that is pretty much it for mass AoE. You don't have to think too much about your immolates, which just makes destro easier to play in turn. So it will not be harder for you to play mass AoE at all. Let's go over the utility that Warlock brings super fast and quickly. So you have the movement curse, and you have the increasing cast time curse, which are 2 very useful curses. Also, you have the increase the time between an enemy attack by 20% curse. These curses can be used in various dungeons on various mobs. There is a lot of dungeons that this is worth casting, especially the Curse of Tongue one, on spellcasters that are especially annoying. What else do we bring? Well, we bring a lot of utility in stuns. We have Shadowfury. Shadowfury can be used to stun anything in mass AoE settings, which is super useful. That in itself is very important. You bring the same utility basically as a DH that can stun or a monk that can stun, and it's very good to chain stun. So this is a very good utility. This Shadowfury you will be using the most. And you have Fear, which you practically never use aside from the adds to the second last boss, Scovald, in Horse of Valor. You can use the Fear to incapacitate them. You have Soulstone that can resurrect people in combat. It's a battle combat res. This is very useful. One thing I would like to give you a little tip about Soulstone is that you can Soulstone the tank at the start of the dungeon and refresh it every 10 minutes, so that the tank, if he dies, he can instantly resurrect and use one of your resurrection charges. And this is very useful because if the tank dies, everyone else is gonna follow suit real fucking quick. So yeah, that's very important. That's a good little tip. Then we bring health stones. You can place this down in packs, after packs, and pretty much whenever people need them. They're very useful, they heal a lot, and are very good emergency heals that could save the key. But anything else, we have like Demonic Portal, but you'll mostly use the Demonic Portal for selfish purposes, for your own movement's sake. It's very hard to coordinate anything with Demonic Portal in keys. That is more of a raid thing, where you arrange like where the portal should be. So yeah, use your portal for selfish means. And you have the Demonic Circle, which you can use to TP. Use this as well for selfish means. There's a lot of places where you can help yourself a lot by placing a Demonic Circle. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We also have Mortal Coil, which is another immobilize. I would recommend using this as a last resort. If something very important is about to go off and it can't be kicked by anyone, you can press Mortal Coil. It'll flee from the pack you have stacked in already, but it won't cast a very important cast, which is pretty useful. But yeah, that's about it. There is one more thing I would like to note, and that is the Devour Magic trait. When you have the Fellhounder up, you can get this by going into Pet in the spellbook and taking it out. This is the Devour Magic ability. This thing is especially useful on things that can be purged, like the Storm Boss in Knockhood and the Fire Dancers in Ruby Life Pools. You can insta-kill the Fire Dancers when they do the little spin before they die, and help people out, and maybe they wouldn't, like, you could maybe save people by doing this. Devour Magic is very useful. I would recommend you using this as well in the dungeons you see fit. So yeah, that's about it for our utility. Alright, for my embellishment, I have Elemental Lariat and Amos of the Blue. These two embellishment I would recommend for everyone. The problem with Amos of the Blue is that it's in a tier slot, so if you have tier shoulders and you can't replace them yet, hold off on crafting Amos of the Blue, but this is the best embellishment you can get after Elemental Lariat. These are the two you want. So yeah, and for the stat distribution, you can see that I have a lot of mastery. But the stat distribution is intellect. Haste is a little bit, if not equal to mastery in terms for destruction. Like you could get just as much haste and mastery, and it will probably be fine. Treat these stats as equal. Like haste and mastery is somewhat equal as destruction, and then crit, and then versatility. That is your stat distribution, and there's not much more to this. And of course, intellect is your best stat, so almost always take the item that has the highest eye level, and you can always sim yourself if you're unsure. That is gonna do it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. I will be posting a few resources down in the description that I think is useful, and I also will be posting some macros that I think will be essential for playing Destruction Warlock. For example, the Rain of Fire macro, which I used throughout the entire video, and the Shadowfury macro, which is also very useful. These are very simple macros. It is just add cursor macros, so you don't have to click every time you press Rain of Fire, you just have to click the button. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, and yeah, I'll see you around.